There are no more games to talk about except for two teams playing on Monday night. But besides that, it's going to be a whole lot of personnel talk across college football, and Nebraska's just one of the same. We got Greg Peterson on the line from Husker Online, joins us from Rivals on a regular basis. Greg, how you doing tonight?
Doing pretty good, Mark. How about yourself?
I'm good. Appreciate you stopping by. Greg does a tremendous job on Rivals, and again joins us on a regular basis as we break down Nebraska. So here we go. Let's take the first personnel stop, which would be the NFL draft. So we're at that point where players are declaring early, or they're making the statement that they're coming back, or we're still waiting to see. So what's the list for the Cornhuskers?
Right now, probably the biggest name out there is Brendan Hymus, who's right now he's getting himself ready for the draft. He opted out early, even before the Huskers had announced that they were not going to accept any type of a bowl bid. So he's going to be your number one guy, and he's obviously he's a draft pick somewhere. I would say mid-range, mid-round type of a guy. That he's played a lot of games here at Nebraska, and definitely one of those guys that fits the NFL mold. Has that experience and is a very high work ethic type of guy. Kind of keeps his mouth shut and just lets his play on the field speak for himself. So, he's the main guy, and then the other guy that has played a lot of football here at Nebraska is Dicaprio Bootle. I think he's a guy that's played himself into maybe a late round pick, going from a guy that's probably would have been one of those undrafted free agent type guys. With his play here the last couple of years, and he's really emerged as a leader, and plays a lot bigger than his frame is, and DiCaprio's he's a heck of a player, and Nebraska's going to miss him. So those are the two biggest names right now. I think the one that we're waiting on right now would be Dedrick Mills, waiting on his decision. He's 24 years old, and he's running back. That position doesn't have a long lifespan in the NFL, so he's still got a decision to make. And, a lot of what Nebraska is doing moving forward is going to hinge on Dedrick's decision. I think we've talked about him before as, he's got a lot of miles on him already going back to his days at Georgia Tech. So, it's kind of up to him. I know we saw at the end of the year this year that he can be a workhorse type of a back when you give him the ball when he's healthy. He can be that hammer that can go in there and carry the ball 20 times plus a game, which you see when, Nebraska kind of utilizes something like that, they have a lot of success. So, his decision could come at any time right now. And that's the biggest news that we're waiting on around these parts moving forward with what, is going to go on here shortly with the transfer portal. And I'm sure we're still going to see names here that are currently on this Nebraska roster. Some of those guys that aren't quite in the mix for playing time coming up, that you'll still see some more names from Nebraska guys enter their name in the transfer portal, and not too long from now.
Bootle, 25 tackles, 1 pick this year. Dedrick Mills, 396 yards, 4.7 per carry, 3 touchdowns. And as Greg mentioned, can be a workhorse and a sledgehammer. Pretty much gained half that yardage the final game of the season, 13 catches out of the backfield. Now let's move on to the transfer portal. You touched on it to a certain extent. Where do we stand in regards to? I've been surveying that thing, and I did not jot down Nebraska's names that are currently in the portal, whether they are receiving transfers or losing transfers, but just about every team in the nation's in that 8 to 12 range. A lot of guys in the portal. It's over 600 nationally. Where does Nebraska stand?
Before I go there are a couple of names that I did forget to mention there, and those are Nebraska's 2 safeties, Deontay Williams and Markel Dismuke. We're still waiting on what they're going to do too. So those are 2 other names to keep your eye on there. as far as guys' futures here at Nebraska. But yeah, with the transfer portal right now, guys that have put their names in here from Lincoln, kind of what I just mentioned are guys that really aren't considered to be in the mix moving forward. So you're seeing a lot of some of these younger guys that haven't seen any playing time. The latest one would be a reserve offensive lineman, Matthew Anderson. Yesterday, I believe he put his name into the transfer portal. And you see other names, a lot of offensive linemen, like a Bo Wilson. I think he wants to get somewhere where he's more of a factor on that offensive line. So you're seeing some other lower end backup type guys. So I mean, with some of these names, like one of the big one, like Cam Taylor-Britt announcing that he's going to come back for another year here at Nebraska. That leaves a cornerback spot open, and some of these young guys here are going to get some more shots coming up next year. So, that kind of leads us into what our needs look like in the transfer portal. And I think, number one, you've got to look, and it kind of goes with what we were talking with. We want to know what Dedrick Mills is going to do. So that means the running back position, I think, is first and foremost the kind of need that you're looking at. And you're looking at a guy you want to get somebody like a Dedrick Mills, somebody that you can put in there and carry the ball for 20 times a game and be that workhorse guy, because right now that running back room is unproven with a lot of young guys that we really haven't had a chance to see, on a highlighted type of a basis, that, Nebraska just hasn't been able to utilize that running back spot in their offense, what they've been trying to do. And, I think that's something that we'll probably talk about here about what kind of offensive changes that need to be made. But, you're looking at a running back first and foremost. I'm not sure what's out there that kind of fits that mold. I haven't really looked at it very closely myself as far as, a Power 5 guy that's leaving or a JUCO guy. JUCO is kind of a question mark right now since they haven't had a chance to play for a year yet right now. So running back, number one. Wide receiver, I think, is number two. I think you're looking for a guy that, somebody that can come in here that's played a lot of football somewhere else. It doesn't really matter at what level, but somebody that, has played a lot of football and has a lot of experience and can come in right away and make a difference, because it's kind of the same vote that we just talked about at the running back position. At the wide receiver positions, it's another unknown spot right now on this Nebraska offense. You bring in a lot of talented guys, but then you don't see them on the field very much. It seems like the only thing that Nebraska can trust at the moment is upperclassmen that kind of know what the scheme is and stuff. So you need to get some guys in here that can step in and show some young guys a little bit of leadership and, kind of teach them the way to go to succeed. And then after that position, I think you're looking at some more interior offensive line help. You've got a center that's a young guy, but then you've got that guard position where you're losing a lot of guys that have been playing for you for several years, like I mentioned, to Bo Wilson, Matt Farniok. So I think you're pretty good. You're set at the tackle position, so you're looking at some more help at that interior spot. They do have some talented guys coming into the program that we've talked about before. A guy that I love, Henry Lutowski, that I think can step in there in that interior offensive line spot. And then moving forward, you're looking at the secondary. There's always going to be needs there. I mentioned you lose the Dicaprio Bootle, so you might be looking at at that corner spot. And as I mentioned, we're still kind of waiting on those safety positions too, with a pair of safeties that have played a lot of football here at Nebraska. So, those spots, and then, pass rusher, obviously. I mean, who doesn't need a guy that can come in and give you, 6 sacks a season or so? So you're always looking for that. And then finally, I think the punter positions is something that you have to look at too. That's been a revolving door the last few seasons, along with the kicker spot. They just signed a kicker recently here. So it's hard to say. We haven't had much stability on those special teams, which is a big need or going forward to help out this ball club. So that's what I'm looking at position-wise, the biggest needs that you're looking at right now, with what you've signed in the class and what you have moving forward right now.
Going back to the running backs, some of the names that catch my eye that I've seen who are pretty prominent players. Ty Chandler had a really good start to his career at Tennessee. He was a 4-star. He's looking for a home. TJ Pledger has been a productive player at Oklahoma. Even
a guy with a lot of Nebraska ties.
Okay. 4-star there. Chris Curry at LSU hasn't done a whole lot at the collegiate level, but he was highly sought after coming out of high school. Nakia Watson, Wisconsin back right there in the same division. Good player. Christian Turner at Michigan as well. Some of the guys that I see there. Jameer Smith at Notre Dame. He was a good player and was highly sought after coming out of high school as well.
Yeah,
players out there, that's for sure.
That's a talented group, and a lot of guys that I saw, at some camps and stuff when they were high school guys. One of those names that sticks out, like I was mentioning, TJ Pledger was highly recruited by Mike Riley here at Nebraska. Visited here several times. Was here for a Nebraska Friday Night Lights camp. Was in that group with a bunch of guys. One of his teammates that he ended up with at Oklahoma, Buki. So a couple of guys that Nebraska fans had thought were going to be here, but ended up at Oklahoma. And we all know that Nebraska and Oklahoma play each other here the next 2 years coming up. So that could be interesting. So TJ Pledger is a guy to keep your eye on here that could come in and give the Huskers some help right away. And then I know there's another at the wide receiver spot, another Oklahoma receiver that Nebraska's been in some contact with that, you might get a look at that, possibility that all of a sudden you grab a couple of Oklahoma guys and they're playing against their former team next season. So you never know.
Mr. Rambo's a good player. Caught
Yes.
25 this past season, 42 the year before. We talked about him the other day, so check out that video. We really ran down the Oklahoma side of all this as well. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, breaking down the game we all love. Best discussion, debate, and analysis. That's at least our aim, our goal, our mission every day. Please hit the like button to know to support the channel, and the subscription, of course, to know when we go live and post various videos. Got Greg Peterson on the line to talk Nebraska football. You can catch him on Husker Online on Rivals. So we've broken down these different personnel groupings. Now let's get to the more traditional way you build a college football team, recruiting. Very solid class brought in during the early signing period. Where do we stand with various targets for February?
Yeah, Nebraska got another shot in the arm here just Saturday when the All-American Bowl special was on Saturday afternoon on NBC, when 4-star outside linebacker Wyndon Ho'ohuli from Hawaii committed to Nebraska. And this guy's a Mr. Do Everything. He can play safety. He can play outside linebacker. He can play defensive end. So you just got a guy that with a huge motor that will fit right into Eric Shenander's defense, and some of those guys that already have a motor like that, like a Garrett Nelson, some of these guys that I've covered that you just love to play football. So this guy fits right into the things, and I think that's just a big shot in the arm, and so that leaves you just a few spots left that you're looking at moving forward for signing day here in February. Because most of those the open spots are going to go to transfer portal guys that we had just kind of talked about. So you still got a couple of those spots open, And I think a lot of what's being talked about right now is a guy that we've talked about here before, is Davonte Dickerson out of Omaha Westside High School, who's currently committed to Minnesota and unsigned. And he hasn't been talking much himself, but his head coach at Westside, Brent Freund, has been talking with the media a little bit about Avonte's situation. And, right now things look good for Nebraska on maybe flipping the four-star Rivals 250 defensive back over to the Huskers, because currently a Minnesota commit who refused to sign on early signing day, mostly for the fact that he has not had a chance to visit the Minnesota campus. So he has not had a chance to see where his future school. He doesn't know anything about it besides taking virtual tours and stuff. As opposed to Nebraska, where he's visited several times during his high school career, and those lines of communications between Nebraska and Dickerson remain wide open, and they talk on a very constant basis. So things look good for Nebraska, actually flipping him over and adding him to Nebraska's class right now, which still stands currently at 19th in the country, according to Rivals.com. So, things look good there. We've talked about their early signing class, and they filled most of those needs that they had on the board there. And so you're still looking for those guys. And we just talked about, most of those, 4 or 5 spots left that they're going to sign are guys that they're going to look to bring in on the transfer portal. And they're very excited about their class right now with some of the holes that they filled.
Ho'ahuli, number 1 rated player in Hawaii, according to Rivals, 12th rated at his position at inside or outside linebacker, and a top 200 player nationally. So, yeah, that's a good get right there.
And if you watch his film, I mean, this guy, he's got a nose for the ball, and, he's got himself a heck of a frame. And, you mentioned, look at the talent that Nebraska's bringing in this class when, you got the number 1 player in the state of Hawaii. You got the number 1 player in the state of Nebraska. You got the number 1 player in the state of Iowa, out of South Dakota. Okay. You're landing these guys, and you've got a national footprint while you're doing this, and you're also flexing your muscle regionally. So, I like what they're doing here, and they're adding guys that have the right kind of attitude, and with, Tony Tuioti is the guy to, praise and pat on the back for landing Wyndham, a player of his caliber. Tony Tuioti played at the University of Hawaii. He played high school football in the state of California, but he is from Hawaii, and he went to college there, and he's got a lot of ties to the islands, and this just opens up a pipeline, and it's already starting to pay off a little bit, because Nebraska's been in contact with some very high-rated prospects, former teammates of Wyndham's, on the island there. They're looking at a 4-star quarterback right now. These are all class of 2022 guys. So, you kind of look for a jump start for recruiting the class of 2022. If you you land a verbal commitment from another player or two from that state of Hawaii. So, this just helps Nebraska's case in the recruiting game moving forward. And, it's been a while since Nebraska has had a player from the state of Hawaii. And I just look for that to start paying dividends down the road.
We talk Nebraska football here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, courtesy Greg Peterson from Husker Online on Rivals. Greg, we appreciate you stopping by. A lot of names and a lot of scouting reports to sort through this time of year.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And, I think right now what you got around here is you've got, Coach Frost having to evaluate, kind of the way things that they've been doing around here lately, and to address those concerns moving forward. You're waiting these personnel situations to kind of know what your roster is going to look like moving into spring ball. And you hope that, things kind of get back to normal and you move forward building this football team. And I think what you got to look at too is, hanging your hat on your defense of what you were able to accomplish under Coach Chenander. And if you look at, if like a guy like a Ben Stilley comes back too, you're looking at probably returning 10 starters on that defensive side of the ball, which, I think that if you can rely on your defense and you can stop turning the ball over on offense, I think you can win some games in the Big Ten and start turning this thing around, and maybe going like a 7-5 or an 8-4, and against an extremely tough schedule coming up next year too. But if you can show some signs of improvement, and if you look back since Nebraska's joined the Big Ten, the last 10 years or so, turnovers have just killed Nebraska. Turnovers, especially from the quarterback spot, because for some reason the quarterback has to run the ball too much. You don't rely on a rushing attack. You see what they can do when a Dedrick Mills can get it going like that. A Divino Zigbo who showed that too late in his career. And you've got the quarterback running the ball about 49% of the time. If you cut that down to about 20%, 25%, I think you cut down a lot of those fumbles and you stop putting your defense in a hole. And, you've got a defense right now that can just limit teams to 20 points a game. And you don't have to rely on your offense having to score 40 to 45 points to win a ball game anymore. So I think that's what Coach Frost has to concentrate on moving forward around here, besides personnel moves right now.
Yeah, I'll just restate it here. It's been said a zillion times. I don't know exactly what the percentages are, but once you win the turnover battle, your probability of winning goes sky high. And then if that turnover battle is like 2-zip or 3-zip in your favor, then it's like 90% plus. It's just difficult to overcome because it means possessions. It means field position in regards to scoring or being scored on. All right, Greg Peterson, Husker Online. Greg, we always appreciate you stopping by, breaking things down for us.
No problem. No problem at all. Happy to do it.